Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new Mazda CX-30 Premium Plus. And today, I'm going to review it for you guys. Starting out up front, I'm going to try to power through talking about all the exterior features as quickly as I can for you guys, because the forecast says it's supposed to start raining soon. And once it starts, it's not supposed to stop for another 3 days. And I've never filmed a video in the pouring rain before, but I don't think I want to start. I'm pretty sure all of us don't want this Mazda video to become a remake of the movie Hard Rain.
So what do we do now?
Just drive around until we run out of gas.
And on top of that, I recently did an Ancestry DNA test, and I discovered I'm a distant cousin of the Wicked Witch of the West. So I really don't know how long I can be out in the rain without suffering grave physical, medical consequences. So starting with the headlights, you'll get full LED headlights here. I really like the design. They're very sleek and sharp, but the actual turn signals are not incorporated up here. They're further down here on the front end. And then right in between the headlight and the turn signal, you'll get parking sensors on the body, and those extend into the grille, where you'll have your Mazda logo, which is actually a sensor on this car that helps with the safety system, and that works in conjunction with a camera at the top of the windshield. But speaking of cameras, there's also one right above the Mazda logo in the grille. That's really useful for pulling into a parking spot. You can turn that on and see how close you are to the curb. I've used that a few times this week, and I really like it. But that also works with the 360-degree camera system that's incorporated in. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we move to the interior. And lastly, here on the front end, this is a very sharp-looking little Mazda. I think they knocked it out of the park design-wise, and it's very sleek. Moving underneath the hood, this is powered by Mazda's Sky Active G 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, making 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. And that is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, those horsepower numbers are if you use regular 87-octane gas, but if you step up to 93 Premium, you can actually get up to 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. Moving to the profile of the CX-30, this is a gorgeous color. I think Mazdas look fantastic in this red. It really, really is beautiful. Then moving down here, you will have Bridgestone 215 55R tires around these 18-inch blacked out wheels. Now, I really like the blacked out wheel design on the CX-30 compared to something like the chrome offerings, because I think it really blends in well with this matte black fender flare and lower body cladding design that it has. Gives it a more rugged look, in my opinion. Then you'll have a gloss black mirror cap right here with a turn signal indicator incorporated in, a camera for the 360-degree camera system, and then it does have blind spot monitoring, and they are power adjusting. Then this does have keyless entry, so you can lock it by just tapping that, and then you can unlock it by putting your hand back here, though I've noticed I put it back there once. If I put it back there again, it unlocks it. I don't know if that's a purposeful feature. They kind of want to make sure that you're reaching to unlock, but it takes 2 grabs in there, I've noticed, to unlock it with the keyless entry. And then moving towards the rear, you have your gas cap, and I absolutely love the rear look of the CX-30. Again, very sharp, very aggressive. I think Mazda makes a great looking vehicle overall, and it's no different here. You'll have dual exhaust down here, and then parking sensors, and then you have a backup camera right there. And if you want, you can open the rear from a button down here. That's pretty standard on pretty much every SUV. But if you want to open up the rear in a little bit of a different way, that brings us to the key fob, which is blank on this side. You'll get the Mazda logo over here. And then on the side of the actual key fob, you'll have your lock, unlock, panic. And then you also have the ability to open up the rear lift gate. You can, of course, lower it from here as well. That's very nice. And you do have buttons up here to like lock the vehicle and then drop the tailgate if you want. So if you're grabbing your groceries, you can lock it on the way out. But you get a ton of storage space back here. I'm actually really impressed with how much room you have in this tiny SUV. You also get an LED light. I almost said LED lights, but just one on the one side there. And then lifting this up, you do get a donut, which is always nice to see. So pretty decent room back here. If I tap this, that's going to lower the lift gate. And that will bring us to the interior. So let's take a look at that.
Alpha Shark will be right back after a word from our sponsor. Have you ever found yourself stranded because your car battery died?
Yes, literally right now. I even have jumper cables, but there's no other cars around. Wait, do you have a car?
No. But it sounds like you need the Monster Start X1 from Jesper.
What? Oh my word, I think I'm losing my mind.
You're not losing your mind, Isaac. You're actually gaining a lot of features. The X1 has a 6,000 amp peak current, which means it works great to jumpstart all gas and diesel engines. It also has a 58,800 milliamp battery booster power pack with 145 watt fast charging. It's lightweight, only weighing 9.8 pounds, and you also get some other useful features like this LED light with SOS modes for emergencies, USB ports for charging devices, and a DC fast charger option. To actually jumpstart the car, all you need to do is plug the jumpers into the positive and negative terminals, and then once it lights up, you'll see this is sensed. It's a 12-volt battery, and then it's as simple as turning the car on to jump it.
Hey, it worked. And that was quick. It only took a minute. Thanks, ethereal voiceover guy.
No problem. There'll be a link in the video description below to the X1's Amazon page. And there'll be a link to Jesper's website, where they sell a variety of jump starters and other car accessories. And now, back to the video.
Moving to the interior of the CX-30, it is gorgeous in here. I really like the black, dark brown, and like tan, almost whitish color of these seats. The contrast is very nice in here. But speaking of these seats, they're very comfortable. They do have power adjustment with power lumbar support, which is always nice to see. You really sink into them. But let's really start out over here on the door panel, and then I'll move throughout the rest of the interior and talk about all the features like I normally do. So up here, this is a slightly softer touch material. If you did want to rest your arm up here, again, you have this really nice dark brown that continues into the dashboard. It's a very nice look on the door here. It's very cohesive, the entire interior. I think that's the best descriptor I could use. Down here, this is soft touch where you'd rest your arm. Very, very plush. You'll have your window controls, your mirror controls, lock and unlock. You do get a Bose sound system. Unfortunately, I can't play anything, and my mic wouldn't pick it up very well, but it does have a very deep and bassy sound. I really like it. It's very premium feeling. You click this right here, that'll pull up the camera view. We'll review that in a little bit when I move to the radio, but you can pull those up if you want. This will turn off the sound for the safety system, I believe, if you want all those beeps and chimes off. Then you'll have your rear parking sensors off button, and then a kind of maybe hill descent control. Maybe that's what this is. There's a little rock crawling SUV right here. I'm not 100% sure. I'll throw that on screen with whatever that is. Fascinating. That's cool. Then down here you have a button to open up your lift gate from inside, and then your memory settings for the power seats are right here. Now this does have a tilting and telescoping steering wheel that is manual. And then there are paddle shifters, little tiny paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well. Pretty standard turn signal stocks. And then you'll have your volume, source change, and like music change buttons, your Bluetooth, and then your radar guided cruise control buttons right here. Now this might look like a regular triple gauge cluster display here, but there actually is a screen incorporated into it. You can't really see right now, but if I hit info down here, that will change this center screen layout. As you can see, there are a few different things you can cycle through, though frankly it is pretty sparse. There's not a ton to customize on here, but it is cool that you have that. And then if you want to throw it back in this mode, you can't even tell that it's a screen. It's very cool. I will say, even though it is very limited in what it displays, it's one of the coolest center infotainment, sorry, not infotainment, gauge cluster screens, because it looks like it isn't a digital gauge cluster screen. And then up here, I don't know how well you can see it, there is, I'm going to zoom in here, there is a display, there is a heads up display. There you go, that shows it pretty well. And that shows you, lane departure, your digital speedometer, and the cruise control settings. So that's neat that it's an option to have that heads up display. A lot of vehicles are doing that nowadays. I don't want to forget to mention the brightness controls for the digital gauge cluster and the gauges around it that are physical and the infotainment screen are actually down here. That's a very unique placement for them, and it took me a little while to find that because the Apple CarPlay on this can be very bright at night compared to the rest of the screen. So it was really useful to find that little guy right there. And then on the opposite side, you have your trip reset and stuff like that. But moving on to the infotainment screen, it's actually not a touchscreen. Well, at least most of the time. Right now, while it's on its main menu, there isn't anything I can do to touch it. I actually have to control it from here. As you can see, I spin this dial, and then I can click down on the dial. That'll bring me into something. And then there's a back button right here that I can tap. That'll bring me into whatever mode I want. It's very intuitive. It allows me to keep my eyes on the road while I spin this, and I can kind of see out of the corner of my eye where I'm going with the different menus. It's very useful and helpful, and that's kind of what Mazda's design is for it. They want it to be able to be distraction-free, or at least less distracting than a touchscreen is. Curiously though, when you go into Apple CarPlay, it does work as a fully functioning touchscreen, though I will admit the reach is a little far. I would tend to use the dial for the Apple CarPlay as well, just because it's such a distant screen. But it really doesn't bug me at all to use this. In the past, I've complained about it, but now that I've had the opportunity to drive this car for a week, I've really gotten used to it, and I like it a little bit more than the touchscreen. And I do feel like I keep my eyes on the road more with this system than I do with most touchscreens. In addition to the dial, you also have this button which will bring up your navigation. This will bring you right to your music, and this will bring you to your home. Again, with the advent of all these screens that are incorporating their climate controls into the screen and everything, it's nice to have physical buttons for those main functions. So that's very useful, and I don't mind it at all. You also have a little volume rocker right here and your favorites button. Now, throwing this into reverse and bringing up the camera system that this has, it's very, very useful. As you can see, backing up, you do have guiding lines that turn with the vehicle, and that turns on the top-down 360-degree camera system as well. That is super useful in parking spots. And then if I throw this into drive, it shifts the camera to the front view, which again is very, very useful. And if I want, I can go to the kind of side mirror cams, and that'll show me what it looks like if I'm pulling into a very tight spot. So a lot of functionality there on this particular camera system. So I have to applaud Mazda for that. It is a very crisp camera system, and I like that they've really included all of those different fun features. Then coming down here, you do have physical climate controls. Hooray! So you just have normal climate buttons right here, and then you can turn these for your temperature and your fan speed and defrost, stuff like that. You also have a heated steering wheel down here and heated seats, so it's nice that you have those small luxury amenities in here to add to the really premium feeling interior. Then down here you have wireless charging, 2 cup holders. Your sport mode, you can tap that and that'll put you in sport. I think it's funny, some vehicles with these digital gauge cluster screens will change the design. Maybe it'll go red, but when you put it in sport, there you go. Just says you're in sport now. I like that. So very simplistic from Mazda. Then you'll have your electronic parking brake down here. And if you go behind this armrest, you actually can't lift it up. You have to slide it back first, then it lifts up, revealing 2 USB-Cs and a little storage area. You can take this out and move it if you want to change the spacing and the cargo division of that little area. So that's nice. And again, you get this brown color right here. Very premium, very soft. So you just sink right into it. It's a very nice place to rest your arm. And then over here, you have a pretty decently sized glove box. You'll get 2 climate vents over there. They have kind of a unique design compared to the driver. This is all very driver-centric, and the passenger side is less so, but it is still a nice design. Now moving up here, you do have an auto-dimming mirror, and then you have your little LED lights, which are very nice. They kind of fade on very luxuriously. Then you'll have a sunglasses holder up here, and the controls for your sunroof. Just a standard sunroof on here, though I do like to see it. I'm a big fan of sunroofs. Even though it's not panoramic, it's nice that it's an option and you get the functionality there. So that pretty much wraps up the front end of the interior here on the CX-30. Moving to the rear seats here, admittedly, there is not a ton of room. I have this front seat up where I'd sit at 5'9", and I'd say I have 1.5 inches or 2 inches of leg room. Also at 5'9", I haven't grown since I got back here. And I have probably 1 inch or 2 of headroom. It doesn't necessarily feel claustrophobic back here, but I wouldn't take 3 adults on a road trip in the back of the CX-30. I think 2 can manage just fine back here, but 3 would probably be pushing it. Now this seat has been adjusted really far back. As you can see, there's like no leg room. This is as far back as it goes. So realistically, there would be more room, probably more akin to something where I'm sitting right here. Thankfully, you do get 2 climate vents back here, a little storage pouch, and you have a fold down armrest with 2 cup holders to make it a little bit more cozy. Though, as I said, it's not a ton of room, but it is a very small SUV, so there are pros and cons. Let's take this thing for a spin. All right, this is too funny not to mention. So I just got in the car to do the driving segment, and the regular FM radio is on, and Here Comes the Rain Again is on the regular FM radio. I think that's the funniest thing. Come on, we're almost there. Please don't start raining. Well, the rain has come again. Annie Lennox was right. But thankfully, I was able to get everything else I needed to do outside on the review done. I actually filmed the outro right before this because it was really looking like it was getting dark. So you'll see that after this driving segment. But thankfully, I beat the rain. I'm okay with it during the time that we drive because we're in this nice, comfortable interior. Speaking of comfortable, it's not just the seats that are very plush. The ride quality is very plush on this overall. It really eats up bumps and it corners very well. I've been very impressed with this CX-30. I've reviewed the CX-30 before. In fact, it was in this same color, but that was at a dealership about a year or 2 ago, and I didn't have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with it. Thankfully, I was able to spend a lot of time this week with this particular CX-30. It's the only press car I have this week, and so I've been driving it quite a bit, and I've just really been impressed with how well put together it is. I think that's the best way to describe it. It feels very premium on the interior. There's no shakes or rattles on any of the parts, and the overall ride is so comfortable. It feels like Mazda really put a lot into this, and it would be very easy for Mazda to make an SUV that was pretty standard in a lot of categories, and it would probably sell. I don't think there would be an issue with it, and that's not what Mazda has chosen to do. They've chosen to go above and beyond with how it feels to drive, and accelerating here, it does accelerate pretty fast. It picks up pretty nicely. I'm not really going to gun it because I don't want to hydroplane in this, but it really does pick up well, and the engine sounds nice. I was really impressed with how well this sounds. It's a very growly motor, and it's nice that you get the actual dual exhaust, which is fun too. It's just a very premium ride, which means it lives up to its name. and I'm very impressed with it overall. The steering is very tight, and so is the braking. The braking is very nice on this, and I like it. I would absolutely recommend the CX-30. There are two things, though, that are of note that I wanted to bring up, though, and that is the rear C/D pillar blind spot. It is very big on this SUV, and you do get blind spot monitoring, which is nice, and I do appreciate that. But the second thing I wanted to note is yesterday it was really pouring, and the blind spot monitor on the driver's side kept going off sporadically, like it would just flash for just a second, and I was on a small 2-lane road with no traffic. There was nobody else near me, and I think the blind spot monitoring must have just been going off because the rain was so heavy. So that's just something I wanted to bring up. Overall, though, it's a great car, and I don't think that holds it back from me recommending it. I think it's absolutely a very viable small SUV, and it's probably one of the most comfortable small SUVs in the segment. Mazda used to compete with, you would say, like a Toyota or a Honda, and I almost feel like this is stepping up to Lexus territory when comparing it to what else is out there, because it feels really plush and premium. And I haven't gotten a small Lexus to review recently, but I wouldn't be surprised if this Mazda is more comparable to something like that than a Toyota in the same category. So definitely something to look for, and I would highly recommend it. Well, that's just about going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Before I go, though, I'd like to mention that I'm a Christian, and if you have any prayer requests, I would love to be able to pray for you. You can leave those in the comment section below. And lastly, I like to close out on a scriptural reading. This week, I'm in the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 9. Let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. And remember, no matter what vehicle you drive, I hope it lasts you a long time and it serves you well. Take care. We beat the rain. Let's go.